Welcome back, everyone. I am so excited. Today, I have Dave Quevedo, who's the owner and operator of Fit Foundry, which is an 8,000 square foot semi private and large group training facility located in Uptown Hoboken. He's my guest, and he's been a trainer for 19 years, has trained everyone from pre and postnatal moms to Super Bowl MVPs. I saw that and I was very impressed, and is very involved in the community with his wife, Sarah, and their two children. And I wanted to just chat today with Dave because he's been doing this for a while. He's opened up his own gym, which I know a lot of, you know, people aspire to. So let's start. Dave, what inspired you, first of all, to go into personal training?
Oh wow! When I graduated college, I was economics major and history minor, and I knew I wanted to do something that helped people. Like I wanted to serve people in a way where that would help benefit them to improve their lives. And I'd always been into fitness because I was a very overweight child growing up, despite my activities, basketball, baseball, and just running around the house like crazy. I was a little bit overweight, so I was always into fitness. And I knew that I wanted to help people with their lives too. So when I graduated college, I jumped headfirst into learning and training and stuff like that. And then first job was New York Sports Clubs and Sales. So that's kind of like propelled me into to get ready. But I've always had a passion for helping people. And then fitness, you know, I've had a good relationship with fitness ever since I was a young child.
So I actually want to go back and ask some questions because I know for
Mhm.
a lot of people with kids,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking about how my parents would probably react. Well, how did your parents feel about you deciding you were going into personal training after graduating from college?
It's a pretty vivid memory. I was sitting on the train back from Jersey City, and my mom was like, "I'm just so scared you're going to be sitting in a dark room with a light over your head, eating a can of beans." And it's like it's not it's never been this way, but I think it ruins my personality. If you tell me I can't do something, it just kind of pushes me harder. And it's like, well, why not me? Like, why can't I do this? What you trying to tell
Hmm.
me I can't? I'll prove you wrong.
Uh-huh.
And I think that kind of like helped fuel me a little bit. Like, okay, well, we'll see,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Wait, when you were in college, though, did you study exercise science? You said you didn't,
Mm-mm. No,
right?
I didn't. I didn't. I'm kicking myself because that would have probably pushed my career ahead a couple of years. Um, but I always thought like, oh, what do you do with exercise science when you become a gym teacher? Knock on gym teachers. It's a fantastic profession, and like honestly, it's something I'd love to do one day too. Um, but I didn't think like, oh, well, you have to make money, so there's no money in that. So like, why waste your time? What a bad idea. So I was a economics major because I do enjoy the dull science of economics and applied physics, and then history because it really find it fascinating just the history of different cultures
Hmm.
of America, of Latin America. That was kind of like my sub minor. So that was a lot of fun for me to learn that. But I just knew deep down I wasn't going to be happy doing anything in corporate America.
Hmm.
And I just I had this relationship with fitness, and I always helped people with theirs in college. It's always in men's health. My first training book came from my brother's then girlfriend at 14. It's called Training the NBA Way. So that was this thing where I was always enamored with it. And once I graduated, my buddy was like, "Hey, listen, man, I just came back from an event. They had these personal trainers there. You should do it." And I picked up this book called Core Performance by Mark Verstegen, who is now the head of Exos. At the time, it was called Athletes Performance in like 2003. And I was just like, "I'm doing this. I'm burning the boats. I'm full steam ahead. There's
Yeah.
no looking back."
And that's so interesting that your first career, because we both come from big box gyms and it's a whole different experience, was at New
Hmm.
York Sports Club. You said on the sales side, so you weren't even starting with training?
Right. So I was in the sales side because it did help me kind of step out of my box and help me with the skill set of selling.
Yeah.
And I needed to also meet people. Where I lived at the time, excuse me, was right down the street from the Springfield New York Sports Club in New Jersey, and that was their 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 training site for all their salespeople. So I knew I needed to make some income. but I wanted to work in the gym facility. So that was a faster way to make income while I studied to get my national cert. And then
Hmm.
once that happened, I got my national cert, and then an opportunity popped up to become the fitness manager in Newark in Penn Station. So here I am, 25-year-old me with just a bunch of book knowledge and the ability to talk to people, um, and still no hair, but you take the good, and so. And then once I got the corporate side, I got the feel of that, and I'm like, you know what,
Hmm.
I can have so much greater impact because I didn't feel like I was the leader I could be then at 25. Like, let me just go all in on just training and learning as much as I can. So I stepped down as a master trainer, and then I ended up in Hoboken in 2007, 2008.
Oh, you
So
mean
yeah.
ended up at the New York Sports Club there?
Yeah, I was New York
Mhm.
Sports Club in Springfield, and then they bounced me over to sales in like Parsippany. They kind of treat you like whatever. So,
Yeah.
and then I ended up in Jersey City at the Exchange Place, and then Newark, and then
Mhm.
from Newark to Hoboken, and I was bouncing all around. I was teaching spin. I was teaching a lot of other different large group classes. I was personal training. I would leave my house at 5:30 in the morning and not get back until 10 p.m. at night, taking the bus from Union, New Jersey, into the city, into Hoboken, the bus downtown to the path back over to Newark, Newark path, back up bus 126 to
Yep.
Uptown Hoboken, and then the 126 back into the city, and then the bus back
Oh,
to
wow.
Union. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun,
Wait,
but
so because I think a lot of times people don't know the grind when you're starting
oh
out.
yeah,
How old were you when
25.
25 when you were doing that grind, literally going
Uh-huh.
between Jersey City, Hoboken, and Manhattan?
And yeah, and Union, so which is like a 30-minute drive given traffic too on the bus.
Yeah. How long did you do that grind for?
A solid year and change.
Woo, probably not
Every
sleeping
day,
well.
6 days a week. I mean, I slept on the bus,
Yep.
and that's about it. I set my alarm. I would download CSCS symposiums, NSCA stuff on my iPod at the time,
Uh-huh.
and then listen to it as much as I can over and over and over again. And I just was so hungry for knowledge, and I'm like, I can
Yep.
apply this to my clients
Hmm.
as well. And I'm doing dual things. I'm doing things for Gen Pop. I'm doing things for athletes because that, you know, a lot of young people out of the gate. They want to train athletes. They're like
Yeah.
this holy grail. So of course I did that as well. But knowing that most of my clients would be the Gen Pop.
Yep. That's so interesting that I think even though a lot of us had that grind in the beginning and it seems like you never want to go back there, I think it is valuable time of learning
Hmm.
when you're knowing what you want to not go back to in
Right,
terms of
exactly. I keep a backpack here. Because before I opened up Fit Foundry, I used to go from apartment gym to people's houses, and I used to have this backpack with me, and I
Mhm.
keep it here as a reminder that I never want to do that again. But so every time I see that bag, it's a stark reminder, like, of where I started,
Yep.
and it keeps me hungry. I'm like, all right, sometimes you just want to like kick back and watch, Netflix or something like that. Not to say you shouldn't take a break every once in a while, but you have to keep on grinding. It's always something because I don't
Yep.
want to go back to that.
Yep. So then for you, what was the turning point of going from training or doing group classes to actually
Hmm.
opening up your first gym?
The turning point were the kids, to be honest with you. Personal training one-on-one is great, but it's so volatile. And when you have a child and you have another one on the way, and the unsteady paycheck, you're relying on you're relying on somebody to renew, and they just hit you with a bomb, like, oh, I'm just gonna try this instead, and you're like, okay, well, that was like $1,200 that I was counting on that I don't have, um, or oh, I'll give it to you on Monday. I forgot my checkbook, and I'm like, listen, I have one child, another one on the way. My wife's working too, but like, you
Hmm.
still need that. It's just too volatile. And at the time, I'm like, listen, I know there has to be a way because personal training is expensive. There has to be a way to provide solid strength training in a small group and to an extent a large group without letting the tail wag the dog, where you can control all the variables to still be, serious strength training, but in a fun manner, and that
Hmm.
it's also affordable. And I
Yeah.
saw these places opening around, these small boutique gyms, and I'm like, I could totally do this. I can definitely do it. So, I started looking into, the Alan Cosgrove model, Results Fitness. And then, from there, I learned about Thomas Plummer and his speaking series on Perform Better series. So
Hmm.
I went to a couple seminars, the NFBA seminars, in Connecticut and Atlantic City, just to learn all about this small group training that Rick Mayo and Alloy Personal Training were doing. And I was like, oh my God, if anybody were to open this up in Hoboken, it would crush. And I would literally be out of a job. I would have to go work for them. So I'm like, there is nothing like this. So it was a long process to find a place because I knew what I wanted to do. And
Hmm.
I knew I wanted to get the small group model. I wanted to do the large group as well.
Hmm.
And finding a place is actually pretty hard. We almost went down the shore because it's a little bit cheaper. As you know, rents are super high in this part of
Yep.
the country.
Yep.
And, after about a year and a half of looking, we stumbled upon this 8,000 square foot facility that had to be redone. It looked like something out of the Saw movies, like Jigsaw was like taking residency here. Even the landlord, when he walked through, was like, "Oh my God, what did you do to this place?" So, it
Wow.
looked like a horror show. Yeah.
Was that hard to find funding? I'm thinking about that if
Yes.
someone was it
Right.
self-funded or you had to take loans?
So it was self-funded, it was loans, it was
Yep.
investors as well.
Hmm.
So you're deep in the, asking for people, do you want to invest? You come up with a business plan. The NFBA and Thomas Plummer's team helped me come up with a business plan
Hmm.
to show people. And this is like, these are no joke projections. You have to get your local competition. You have to get the demographics. You have to put all that stuff in there because we're also, when you go to, a bank, they're going to want to see all this stuff too.
Right.
So it's my own personal money. I sold my house to help fund this,
Hmm.
my apartment that my wife and I owned. And we moved to a different apartment in the same condo complex. But we were, funding that with, the sale of the house as well and the loans, the investors' money. And then, when we opened, it was I would say it's tough getting open because things pop up really fast. Like, things that you don't really count on were like, the place needs to be rezoned, for instance. So this place was only zoned for industrial use. I didn't know that when we first, engaged in lease talks.
Yeah.
So, but I believed in this area, and there's nothing over here on this side as of yet at the time, anyway. I believe it's like $30,000 just right off. Boom, see you later to lawyer fees, the town,
Woo.
all that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
architecture. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So, so that was a lot of fun. That was a lot
Wait,
of
what year?
fun.
What year did you open?
So that was 2015 to 2016. We opened in 2017. So it took
Okay.
me a long time from the time I saw this place
Yeah.
in July 2015. Yeah, I mean, I have a video. It's like a 2 minute long video. I can email it to you. It's
Yeah.
it's nightmare. It's nightmare.
Oh my gosh. And then when it opens, because
Hmm.
it's the only thing around, uh, you have to get people in. What are some of the
Right.
things that you do or did to let people know you're there and what to expect?
Right. So what to expect is hard because once people walk in the doors, they see barbells and they see some kettlebells. They think it's a CrossFit.
Yep.
It's not a CrossFit, but people automatically think that, and so you have to know exactly what you're selling them.
Hmm.
It's not that. It's more functional, more in terms of functional training. Use a lot of kettlebells. You've been here before.
Yeah.
Um, the barbells are for certain things. You Since we are attached to the community, it's what do I already do here? Who are the clientele? Know your avatar. The
Yeah.
avatar is the people who I surround myself with daily, who I've been training for the past 10 years in Hoboken. And these are the moms and dads,
Hmm.
the singles who typically have some sort of pet, fairly successful people. So you have to go
Hmm.
out in the community and spread the word, and that's
Yeah.
through referral based stuff. We hosted Mom's Night Out for the local Hoboken Public Education Fund. We
Hmm.
were doing Allegiant charter things, Ola, all the charter schools were like, you want to host your fundraiser here? Let's do it,
Yep.
and then we go from there. That's how we go on, the Hoboken Girl
Hmm.
website. We were, I think, 4 times we've been hosts here. Two times prior to COVID. One time we were like a virtual stop, and then the other after COVID, we were again a hub spot for people to come in and to
Hmm.
see the space. So that's what we did to kind of get the word out about us, and we grew fairly quickly, as novelty would help. And then you get referrals too. You get your clients to bring in their friends, they bring
Hmm.
in their friends, plus all the community outreach you're doing, donation-based stuff.
Yeah.
That's how you kind of have to get out your name.
For you, because I think every neighborhood's a little different.
Hmm.
What's the average age range that comes to your gym?
So the average age range for us is between 35 and 55.
Okay.
And we even have some baby boomers who come in and crush grinds, which is a kettlebell only session.
Hmm.
And we have some people who are 67. My oldest client is 77.
We love it.
She's here, but we also have somebody who's like 24, 25. Now,
Hmm.
typically what you would see in the new fitness space is training for the extremely able-bodied. That people who have no dysfunctions whatsoever, they
Right.
can go in and they can run themselves in the ground, no problem. But
Yep.
what about everybody else?
Yep.
So from my experience as a personal trainer and my wife's clients as well, that's who was coming to us. The people who are like, listen, I don't live to work out. I
Yep.
work out to live a little bit better,
Yep.
and this is what I want to do. I'm like, all right, cool. This is what we do. There's a whole ocean of these types of clients. Let's swim in that ocean, where we can take from the personal training
Hmm.
and trickle down the skills and the cueing and the technique and all that forms to small group, and then
Yeah.
trickle that down to the large team. And that is where we kind of thrive in, especially when people are banged up. Well, I did XYZ for X amount of years and that just beat up
Yeah.
my body. I'm like,
Yep.
okay, you just need a little bit more accommodating approach. And that's what we excel in.
Yep. I think a lot of times uh, fitness studios think exactly that people want this kind of workout that's beating them up when
Hmm.
I've heard someone say for the regular people the workout is their competition as in like
Yeah.
that's the highlight. They're not trying to train for a whatever and a something else. So yeah, I like that approach. So I know you have a pretty strong sense, like a pretty strong community.
Hmm.
How do you how does one create a culture? Like theoretically, everyone wants to have a culture in their business.
Hmm.
How do you develop that?
Wow. I think you might need a little bit more than just the time allotted for this interview. uh, so every business, it has to be a small business anyway. It's an
Hmm.
extension of the owner. And I have my vibe. Sarah has her vibe, but you can't forget about your team, and the team
Hmm.
has their vibe as well, and you have to
Yep.
feed off of them. I'm not trying to create mini me's. That would be
Hmm.
horrible. Um, you know, you have to allow number one your employees to be themselves and
Hmm.
support them in that. Meanwhile, they're helping support the business as well, which means sometimes they want to come up with side projects to support them in their side projects. To
Hmm.
give them the leeway. Hey, I can't be here 24/7. So if you hear something from a fanatic, which is what we call our members,
Hmm.
if you hear something from a fanatic and you think it could elevate this business, bring it to us and then let's chop it up. And if it makes sense, I'll give you the project, I'll pay you for it, and then you go from there.
Hmm.
Um, and as well as, understanding the the demographic, like you mentioned before, 35 to 55.
Hmm.
You know, it's a busy time in people's lives.
Yep.
And sometimes they don't have time for all the ancillary, nonsense, the gossip, the this, that. So
Yep.
I think people really enjoy coming here and enjoying that. It's not a show. You don't have to put on your full makeup. It's not that point where all your hair has to be done. The the lights aren't, like red, green, blue, orange, whatever it is. And it's like a nightclub. It's not that. People are like, I ain't got time for that. I have a very busy meeting today, very stressful. I
Yeah.
just want to be able to like get this stress off my plate and somehow like not hurt my back, which has been wonky for the past, 7 days. All
Yeah.
right, let's go. Let's create this fun atmosphere. Atmosphere is fun. exercise is serious. Let's crush it. Let's do it.
Yeah, I like that.
So you have to understand the demographic first off. That first
Hmm.
question you led with like what is your demographic? And just like
Hmm.
people your age, just like that meme where it's like I ain't nobody got time for that. Like ain't
Yeah,
nobody has time for the extra nonsense that like
yeah,
some of the younger stuff does. So
yeah.
that's
The demographic
that's where we
really
kind of
sets
sit.
the tone, like what's going on in
Hmm.
their lives. Um,
Yeah.
what are some of your biggest challenges that you've had throughout
Hmm.
this journey of beginning to where you are?
I would say obviously first in the stage of where we were, funding was hard because where are we going to get the funding to start this place? That was a big challenge, and kept on reading. I kept on having the saying go on in my head. It's like closed mouths don't get fed, and all I can think of is like my daughter's mouth. Now I have two daughters. I'm like,
Hmm.
I can't feed them if I don't buck up, and so that was a challenge for me to come out of my shell a little bit more that way.
Yeah.
Because I've never asked like, hey, you got X amount of thousands of dollars? Hi, like that was really hard to do. Once we got started, the staffing was hard to get right because all there was like sort of like boutique very fitnesses like 3, 5, and 8 pound dumbbells, and there's CrossFit. And
Yes.
trying to find a blend in between that with the coaching is just like, well, at CrossFit we do this, and I'm like, that's great, but like this is not that,
Hmm.
and like at this place we do this. I'm like, again, no knock against it. It's just not what we're trying to go for here.
Yeah.
So that was a little hard at first. Then you find the right staff and you get to go on with that. And then, COVID happens and then you're forced to make, business decisions that, you don't necessarily want to, but you have to.
Yeah.
Um, and then staffing is always a huge thing because we can't just hire anybody off the street. They have to be fantastic at what they do.
Yeah.
They have to know how to do things, why they're doing it, how to explain it, not just what. Like you can't just tell me to raise my arm for a shoulder press. Like what are you doing? I can
Hmm.
see what you're doing. How do I get there? How am I holding the belt? Our employees spend thousands, as you do too. You spend thousands of dollars on continuing education credits just to
Hmm.
understand how to move your hand a quarter of an inch and
Yeah.
how to like help people with that. So finding quality people is always going to be a challenge. And
Yeah.
then on top of that, being comfortable with who you are, because we have a lot of new chains opening up around here, and understanding that like, okay, well, Soul Cycle might have just opened up 2 blocks away. That's not our competition.
Yeah.
There is a CrossFit that's across the street. That's not our competition. We're not a CrossFit. There is a Pilates studio that was literally right next door to my changing rooms. That is not our competition.
Right.
You know, and not trying to be afraid of like, okay, well, there's so much competition now. I'm like, no, they do their thing, we do ours.
Yep.
It's and kind of lean into like who you are, who you want to be, because that'll always be on the table of what's eating away at my brain at like 3:50 in the morning. So
Hmm. It's funny because I actually think the presence of those other type of studios is helpful in that for a neighborhood or in people's minds, like, oh, that area of the town has fitness options. So rather than, I think
right.
it's it's helpful. Uh,
Yeah, it's funny. Sorry to cut you off. There was one
yeah.
story. One of my wife's clients many years ago. She was friends with the founders of Soul Cycle.
Hmm.
And here I am, this 28, 9-year-old trainer who's like, oh, strength training is the way. Like kind of like the
Uh-huh.
Mandalorian. It's the way. This
Yeah.
Soul Cycle stuff is weak. Boo. And then she's like, you know what? You're an idiot, and you need to understand that they're what they do and how good they are. They leaned into who they are.
Hmm.
Their lack of not trying to be everybody has brought me to you. Their failure of how to get women to strengthen their bones and bone density and things like that.
Right.
They don't want to do that. They don't claim to do that. And that led me to seek you out. So be
Yeah.
thankful that they're
Hmm.
in the arena because they raise fitness awareness. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I am stupid. I apologize. You're right. Um, Let me get off my high horse. So Like you mentioned, that helps the awareness around here because the only thing around here to walk to, destination wise, is Odelay on the corner and West
Uh-huh.
Elm,
Yeah.
and that is really and the rock climbing gym around the corner. We
Oh,
are
and
not
Trader
in the most
Joe's.
high and Trader Joe's,
Yep.
but you have to cross the most dangerous intersection in all of America apparently to get here. Um, you know, but like on our side of Willow, 14th to 15th, all it is like us and Odelay,
Yeah.
and that's really and West Elm.
Yeah.
And SLT's on the corner over here. We have another Pilates studio around here, rock climbing gym now, but it's not a high foot traffic area.
Yeah. So it's actually great that there's a lot of fitness there. I love it.
A lot of activity.
In your You've mentioned different mentorship programs that you've gone through. Are there
hmm
notable either continuing education certifications you've done, books, or people that have
hmm
really impacted you?
Yeah, for sure. I would say the first mentor or mentorship, uh, first mentor I ever had when I first broke into fitness was a gentleman named Brent Brookbush. He has his own certification now. He helped me in terms of like when I first started out. I mean, sometimes he'd give me a place to crash, and try to teach me all about like the NASM model and like, how where it succeeds and where it doesn't and how to like program. And then from like a motivational standpoint, it was Todd Durkin, who was I think the 2003 or 2005 like IDEA personal trainer of the year, and he had his mentorship. He was the head of the Under Armour Training Council when they did that, and he helped me land my first pro NFL client, as well as the training techniques and all about how to train a quarterback, and how to bring that passion because you as a trainer you have to be a skilled technician, you have to be entertaining, but there has to be something outside of that. Like, why do you wake up every day? Like, what gets you going?
Hmm.
Let's get the spiritual side going,
Hmm.
uh to help you walk through the door every day. Thomas Plummer and the team that was at NFBA, Rick Mayo, uh from Alloy Personal Training, and then more locally it's going to be Mark Fisher,
Uh-huh.
of MFF. He just sold it, but
Yep.
I can email him anytime, text him, any questions. He kind of inspired me that like this small like in this area that small group training could work, even though his is like no pun intended a unicorn upon unicorns.
Yeah.
Um, he was like a breath of fresh air. Like wow, like that's amazing that you can be you
Uh-huh.
and you are thriving. That's amazing. You can't copy that, but it's good to know that whoever you are, you
Yep.
can be whoever you are. During the time when we were signing this lease, it was back and forth, and my lawyer at the time was like, "I don't know about this lease. I don't know if you would sign it." I'm like, "Dude, I got a second, I got a second child on the way. Like it's
Hmm.
now or never with this." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't know." And I read this book called "The Obstacle Is the Way,"
Uh-huh.
by Ryan Holiday. And that book was like, it couldn't be more serendipitous. I'm like, the obstacle is the way. There's always going to be there's always going to be something
Yep.
that is going to be the thing. This is the thing that is your obstacle. You have to get over your fear of not being successful
Yeah.
and do the thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm reading this book. It has to be like it has to be serendipitous.
Hmm.
So, I asked the real estate agent. They were like, dude, you're an idiot if you don't take that space. The lease is what it is. I've seen worse. You'll do fine. There's nothing in this area like that.
Uh-huh.
You're a great trainer. You're gonna kill it. Just sign it and deal with it. I'll talk to the landlord myself. And I was like, all right, you know what? Let's go.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Yeah.
I
So
love
yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
just taking that leap. So
Oh yeah.
how do you see changing or what kind of evolution do you see for the gym in the next 5 years, 10 years? I don't know what your ultimate goal is for it.
Make it to the next lease, that's for sure. No,
Yeah.
so the next 5 years, I honestly foresee more projects coming our way. We we just added more cardio equipment, but we don't
Hmm.
want to do cardio equipment just for the sake of just making things hard. So, we're coming up with a new large team class that's going to be more cardio driven, but smartly cardio driven, working more like, zone two, zone three,
Hmm.
plan that out. True hit, 15 seconds of work,
Yep.
45 seconds rest, as opposed to like go, go, go.
Yep.
We just had a team meeting today where it's like it's either lists or hit, and
Hmm.
most classes try to combine too much all the
Yep.
time, and they do
Yep.
moderate intensity, steady state, which is
Yep.
a miss. So, you
Yep.
can't do that all the time. So we want to do that. We have ideas for onboarding programs.
Hmm.
We've started to introduce our semi-private plus program, which is a bespoke program where people literally book into a regular semi-private session, but they're doing their custom program. They're just
Yeah.
splitting the cost of the attention of the trainer.
Hmm.
We've tried to add a little bit more in terms of the wellness side, the recovery side.
Hmm.
Infrared saunas we have, and we just got the Normatec leg sleeves and hip attachments. So we're trying to transition into that one-stop shop, but not in a way of a box club.
Yeah.
Um,
Still
where
more intimate.
yeah, a lot more intimate. Yeah.
Yeah. We kind of talked about this before we started the recording. What would your advice be for trainers who decide, oh, you know what, maybe it'd be better off if I had my own gym?
Do you want me to tell the story I told you before?
Yep. Let's share that
All right.
story.
All right, so the 27 years old, I'm on the Todd Durkin mentorship phone call, which he lines up some of the major heavy hitters in fitness, and he has on Mike Boyle. Now, this guy is a god to me. Like, Mike Boyle is fantastic.
Oh,
And he's still, and he's,
can you share
mhm,
with the audience like
uh-huh.
Mike Boyle what his where his facility, how big his facility, so that people understand, because most people won't know.
Yes. So Mike Boyle is a strength and conditioning coach in Massachusetts, and he has a ginormous facility. I want to say it's like 12,000, 16,000 square feet, where he trains some pro athletes, a lot of high school athletes, college athletes. He was I think one of the trainers for the Boston Red Sox during their championship run.
Hmm.
He presents for the Perform Better circuit, so he's a big, big name in fitness.
Hmm.
Um, so when I had the opportunity to get on this phone call, I'm like, I gotta ask him a question, because at some point he was just like me. Like, how do you decide to open up a fitness like a gym, a studio to help people? Like, where did it come from? So I get my opportunity, and I'm foaming at the mouth. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna ask him. I'm gonna get golden nuggets. And I say, hey Mike, do you have any advice for a young 27-year-old personal trainer? I'm currently going from gym to gym, from people's houses, and I want to open up my own personal training studio. Do you have any advice for me? And you can just hear the puppy in my voice. And he goes, yeah, don't. And he has this hardcore Boston accent. He's like, yeah, don't. If you value your sanity, don't do it. And I'm like, am I being punked? It's like Bill Burr, just jump on the call here, and he just like, if you value your sanity, just keep doing what you're doing. But if you're crazy enough to deal with employee issues, member issues, the administrative side of everything, yeah, I mean, you just got to do it. And I didn't know how to respond to that, because I was hoping he'd give me this like golden ticket answer,
Yeah.
and it was more introspective than anything. And
Yeah.
I'm like, and that was exactly what I needed at the time,
Hmm.
um, because I didn't need some fluff answer. I needed the
Yep.
right one, and that was the right one. So
Yeah.
anybody who comes to me and it's like, do you have any advice? And I'm like, well, are you ready for the crap storm that is about to happen? Because it's a
Yeah.
lot tougher. It's not just training people anymore. You got to keep the
Hmm.
lights on. You got to mop the floors. You got to do all this. And
Yeah.
you have to put on many hats,
Yep.
if you want to do this. And then eventually it gets better. And
Hmm.
then you could stop wearing as many hats, as you can hire more staff and things like that and delegate.
Hmm.
Um,
And you
so,
also
but
don't get to, if you love training, you also train less.
a lot less, a lot
Hmm.
less. Yeah, you get to train a lot less. But what you do get to do, if you hire right staff, is talk to them about training. And that is
Hmm.
incredibly fulfilling, because not only do you get to pick their brain,
Hmm.
but you get to like help them out too.
Hmm.
with maybe they have questions about programming or anything like that. You also get to see like, well, maybe there's a better way to do it. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be the best trainer at Fit Foundry. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way. I've waved that white flag, years ago. I just want to help my staff grow.
Yeah.
And from that, I hope to learn from them. But yeah, you're right. You're not going to be training as much because you got to keep the lights on,
Yeah.
you know?
You're running a business. You're not
Right.
running a book of business. You're running a business business.
Right. You're running, not only you're running a business, but you're also not even running I was talking to another business owner the other day and they said this, you're not running a gym, you're running a business. And
Yes.
balancing running a business and running a gym are two different things because it can't
Mm.
be so corporate.
Hmm.
And at the same time, it can't be just like, oh, anybody just comes in here, does whatever they want, whenever they want,
Right.
So balancing, that's where that culture also comes in too. Because if someone's like, oh, I need to cancel my membership, like got laid off from my job, you can't be like, well, I need 30 days notice. And
Right.
this is, and like, listen, there have been people here who've been like, listen, I got laid off from my job, this place was going so well for me. And I'm like, say no more. Listen, next month is on me. Don't
Mm.
pay me a dime. I'm gonna bill you $0. You have zero choice but to come in. And
Wow.
I don't really care if they're like, hey, you know what? They'll help me renew. I'll find a way to pay you. I'm like, dude, don't worry stressing about here. Like, you come here to de-stress. At least
Yeah.
I can do a month for you,
Yep.
as opposed to not coming in at all. Let me help you out because I know this helps.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have no problem helping people out like that. So it's always a lot of fun.
Dave, thank you so much for sharing all of that,
Yeah,
the nitty gritty behind
the
owning a
nitty
gym.
gritty. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
It's
will,
fun.
yeah,
Mhm. No, no, it's a great time. Thank you for having me on, and having answering the questions and stuff. It's been real fun.
everyone, I will put all the details or links to find Fit Foundry or Dave in the show notes. And I look forward to talking to you next week. I'm Coach Tina. For more information about how to work with me, head to ironstrongfitness.com and send me a message. I'll see you next time.